now going to try and have a gentle start on the wings. So for that, I'm going to be using some raw sienna. I mean, I'm always winging it, basically, whenever. I pretty much just wing all my colours. I think that colour kind of looks like the colour in the picture. Then we're going to use some raw umber. Again, this is golden fluid acrylics. I like it. So, gently, what we're doing here, we're just trying to slowly navigate what we're doing. Yeah, starting to build up the layers. So already now what I'm noticing is that raw sienna is very transparent. What do I mean by that is that you can clearly see the brush strokes and the paint underneath shining through. So what that tells me is that I want to be adding in a little bit of white to make it a little bit more opaque. So I'm doing that now. And that also tells me that, so I can already see the lines underneath there coming through. So I wasn't going to do it like this, but now I'm doing it like this. So I'm just going to layer on top, and it's kind of like I suppose like a beigey colour. Again, just like kind of big brush strokes, but also a little bit careful so that letting it glide along the edges, so we create a nice edge. Oops. That's what you get when you don't clean your palettes. Which is fine. So this section, the lower down section is pretty light coloured. So I'm just going to keep. And then we start having a bit more kind of brown to red colour here. So I'm just going to keep this like this for now. Actually, what I might do is I might start putting in a couple of lighter layers just to mark the wings. I'm also noticing that I have, this is kind of like the underbit of the underbit. Okay, so we have between here to here, we have, I guess that it's the bottom feathers shining through. It's quite light. So I'm just trying to mark that bit. Here, they are the lightest kind of in this middle section here, which is the end, I think. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, with the top one is kind of a bit more separated than the bottom ones. I think that was too much, but that's fine. What I might actually do is I might just extend that, so this is actually kind of the bright bit for the 2 feathers. And then this section I'm seeing is also quite it's quite yellow. So whilst I've got the paint out here, I'm just going to gently start to layer that with a bit of yellow here. And again, so we've got kind of 3 sections, so that's the wing, and then there's the small fluffy feathers underneath, the tail feather here, and then this is the underbit, like more the belly, like it's not exactly the belly. Yeah, again, this is just super dirty, but we want to work in layers, so it's fine that it's a bit dirty. And that stops here, so I've actually gone a bit too far there. Just gonna, there's a bit of a yellow section kind of running along here as well. So we're going to go over this, and I might paint over this entirely later on, I don't know. But I always like to kind of, yeah, I just kind of experiment and see what works. And here I think actually, no, I think that might be fine. Okay. Could even have used a bit of medium there. Oh well. Okay. And then I see there's a bit of a white bit that I've missed a little bit, which is at the wings. So it's this section here. Feathers on top, that's layering on top of this white section here. And then the white section on this end is layering on top of the feathers underneath it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right up to the edge, if not a little bit further up, over the edge, kind of on the upside of the feathers, or the feathers that's towards the head, the top of the bird. And then we're going to leave it just a little bit. We're going to just stop that edge just above where the lower edge is, because we want to paint the wings underneath that first and then layer on top of that. And this goes all the way. Again, just looks, yeah, the messiness is coming out. So now what I want to do is just start really marking out some of the darker bits. Again, this is not going to be anywhere near the final layer, but I'm just like the really obvious marks in the feathers. Again, it's just like, it's the first layer, so you can see the brush strokes.
Your umber has a bit of transparent quality to it, so it can be
yeah, don't worry if it looks a little bit rubbish. One there, and we got one over here. I've not painted all of the, like I didn't transfer all of the lines. I kind of do it a little bit by eye. If there's a line or two that kind of, you just have to find how it makes sense to you to do it. So we got this, we got that one up, and then there is another one just above there. Now I can feel that the brush is getting a little bit, is splitting a little bit, which is making it a little bit harder. And then there's actually like almost like a quite a direct line that goes upwards like this. Again, here above with the head is quite black, but it's also quite, it's very matte. So I think we're fine with using a more brown colour. What I'll probably do is, yeah, I'm definitely going to be painting on top of this later, so it's just good to be mapping it all out. This actually is just underneath the beak. So as we're painting, we're just kind of, yeah, really paying attention to where the line goes and try and, when we're filling it in, be fairly accurate with our reference. We don't need to be 100% accurate, but yeah, need to be paying a bit of attention. And then just around the eye there, it is a little bit darker. And what I'm doing with the brush here is I'm literally just touching the tip of it. And again, because that kind of, the feathers around the head here, they are very, very fine. So using the tip of the brush is really also, it's already starting to emulate the texture in the feathers. And then we're starting to, yeah, this area is very, there's a lot of highlights in this area. And then the bits here, just before, I'm going to do a better job with it here, but we're just going to start marking. The edges around here are a little bit darker then. There's two little marks here. I think that's, I think that's a bit thick, but whatever. And then we have these upper wing feathers, and the first one here is quite, so what I'm doing is I'm really doing a really broad stroke for the first bit, because that gets the paint done really nicely. And then I can see there's a small feather overlying there, so we're kind of just creating a small indent there. And again, I will be going over this with other paint later on. And then underneath here, there's another little really thin line, which I made quite thick, but whatever. Underneath here there is a darker edge. I'm mildly hesitant to kind of start doing these finer bits down here. Let's start mapping out a bit of the tail there. I've done a bit of a butchery job on the... So yeah, so when I'm doing these long fine lines, really supporting my hand on the table, and then it's all on the wrist. I'm not doing this, I'm doing this. And then there's one line that's kind of lower down but parallel to the top edge. Then I might as well, because I've got the paint here, I'm going to mix in a bit of white. I'm just going to start layering. So this is raw sienna, raw umber, and a bit of white, and I'm just going to start layering that little log. And that's actually a very accurate colour for what, no, it's not a log, the little branch. I'm just paying attention. So this little branch thing is just kind of going, I'm assuming it's going behind the sparrow. Just going to add a couple of highlights just on the front there. So it's nice to have them a bit blended when the paint is still wet. There's a slight shine on the back there as well. I'm just going to go over it in the middle section. Okay,